Hey everyone, welcome to my channel if you're new, welcome back if you're a returning subscriber. My name's Jonathan, I make luxury videos, unboxings, and reviews, and today's video is going to be super fun. It's going to be a Louis Vuitton for beginners, so let's get into it. So for this video, I'm just going to be sitting down, talking with you guys, letting you know the ins and outs of Louis Vuitton, giving you tips and tricks, some of the acronyms that we use, some of the history. So grab a drink, grab a snack, and let's go. So Louis Vuitton was established in 1854 by the man Mr. Louis Vuitton. He started out with his business by making trunks for the wealthy. What was something that was unique about his brand was his trunks were able to be stackable, and they allowed for more of a carry, allowed more to be carried with them. So his brand allowed him to stack his trunks versus the competitors where they offered a more circular shape. His was more of a rectangular and square. His first print actually was the damier Ebene. However, a lot of people have a misconception that the monogram was the very first print for Louis Vuitton. However, that is not the case. It was actually the damier Ebene. And then a couple of years later, the monogram was actually introduced for the simple fact that it was being counterfeited so much, his products, that he wanted to reinvent his brand and reintroduce a new pattern so that way it would alleviate that. However, moving forward to today's date, obviously we all know today that the monogram is the most heavily faked Louis Vuitton print there is. So looking down the road, you'll always see like monogram prints everywhere. A lot of people like to rock the monogram versus the original damier Ebene, or even some of the other damier prints like the graphite or the azur. But that's just the case today. I also heard or read that like 99% of all of the monogram prints that are out there today are actually fake, which I hope that's not the case, because that is a significantly high number to be counterfeited out there compared to the originals. But 99%, that seems a little bit excessive. But again, it does seem something that is very valid. I definitely can see that happening, just because if you were to look at like Canal Street in New York City or any of the counterfeits, you'd always see like a lot more heavier monogram prints being faked versus the other ones. Moving forward to some of the acronyms. In the luxury community, we like to use a lot of acronyms just because we're a little bit lazy, or for me anyways. So for example, if you do catch me saying mono, I do mean monogram. We do use that. Or if I say DE or DG, that just means damier Ebene or damier graphite. As well as the most common acronym I feel like you'll see on YouTube is the term SLG, which stands for small leather good. I have been using that term a lot. It just technically just means any small item. So it could be a wallet, it could be a coin purse, it could be a pouch, it could be a toiletry. Anything that is small and compact would be considered an SLG. It doesn't necessarily have to be leather, just because a lot of the canvas pieces are put under that category. And no, canvas is not considered a leather. It is a coated canvas, which is completely different than their leather pieces. However, a lot of people think that these pieces are actually leather, but they're actually coated canvas, which is completely different. So it is a fabric material that is coated with a plastic, not plastic, like a little lining to help keep it more durable compared to leather. Another acronym that you'll see us using is the term SA or CA, which they're currently rebranding to. That just means a sales associate or a client advisor. So, and actually, a lot of people have been asking me, how do you get a sales associate? How do you get a client advisor? Unlike Hermes, you technically just can go into the boutique and get a sales associate. It depends on the relationship that you build with that person and the type of person that you are to them. For example, for my sales associate, I went into the boutique one day, just started purchasing items, and then this one gentleman who kept on constantly helping me, we just built a relationship together. So we would be friendly, we would say how's it going, how are you, how's your day, and then next thing you know, he would be texting me for new collections or new items that are in stock, and so on and so forth. So you don't have to have a purchase history like a lot of people think that you have to have. That is not the case. It's not like Hermes, where in order to get offered like a Kelly or a Birkin, you're gonna have to have an extensive purchase history to show your loyalty to the brand. That is not the case with Louis Vuitton. You can literally just have one really good person that you connect with on a really deep level and that you really enjoy talking with, and then they'll be able to help you from there on in. So my sales associate, he messages me anytime that anything on my wish list comes available in his store. He'll let me know, and then he'll put the order through, or he'll let me know if anything that is coming up that I might be interested in, or any hard to find pieces that I would love. He's a very good contact in that way. One thing that I do want to mention is if you do want to get offered like a VIP status, that's when you're going to have more of an extensive purchase history with the brand. And what I mean by that is, for example, some of the new collections, they don't necessarily get put onto the website right away. They get sent to the VIP clients a couple days before, a couple weeks before, for them to browse the collection before anybody else to see what kind of pieces that they want. Anything that is left over that is still available will eventually get put onto the website, but anything that gets sold out from the runways or from the pre-sale orders from the VIP clients, they might not necessarily make it onto the website. A good example is for the recent collection for the Louis Vuitton by Nigo collection, that keep-all was sold out for VIP only. So anybody who was a VIP client was able to get the sales link for that keep-all. And then as you can tell, once it actually released on June 26th, that item was not on the website at all. Actually, for the most part, a majority of those items did surface onto the website. However, it was really minimal quantity released because they were all purchased by pre-orders. So I was fortunate enough to get offered to purchase the collection. However, I wasn't necessarily liking the vibe. Now, in hindsight, I totally regret it. I really wish I picked up that pocket organizer just because I think it is so cute now. But then that's also my complex coming out. It's because it's sold out. I want it even more now. But when I had the chance to purchase it, I was like, I'll wait. You definitely don't have to have a long, extensive purchase history like Hermes to get like harder to find pieces and stuff like that. You just have to build a relationship with your sales associate. Moving forward to the date code. So a lot of people don't actually realize that Louis Vuitton has a date code associated with majority of their products. Pre-vintage times, there was actually no date code. There was just a made-in stamp. So the date code did read a little bit differently earlier for the vintage pieces compared to nowadays. I did mention in one of my previous videos for my mini pochette unboxing, I did mention on how to read the date code. There is different ways to read the date code, as well as the two letters that are in front of them are associated with the region in Europe in which they were made. So you definitely have to do your due diligence and make sure you know what those mean if you wanted to authenticate a pre-loved purchase for yourself. Some of the really good fakes out there, they use real date code numbers. However, they don't actually align with what the maiden stamp is. So what I mean by that is, for this bag, for example, they could have a fake date code on there saying that it was made in 2012. However, knowing that the bag itself, you know that this is a vintage piece and that it was discontinued a long way before then. So if you were to come across one of these bags that has a date code that said it was made in 2012, you'll obviously can tell right away that that is fake. Even though everything might line up and look legit, it's because of that small little detail that the fakes don't necessarily know what the date codes mean. They'll just put any random date code on there. Another thing you have to be mindful of is the first two letters. You want to make sure that they line up with the maiden stamp. A lot of items will have a maiden stamp of France, but then their two initials in the front will be like a Spain region or like an Italy region. So you definitely want to make sure that those two line up to ensure that the fact that you're getting an authentic product. But you also want to make sure that the font size is correct as well. The font size is very important just because so many things can line up. There's so many good fakes nowadays that people spend hundreds of dollars on to get like a one-to-one replica or a AAA replica that makes it look like it's exactly the same. However, there's small, minuscule details that you would have to really know as a Louis Vuitton collector or an avid luxury collector to know what the difference is. So I highly recommend, if you're unsure, to use some authentication websites just to be on the safer side. It's usually around $10 to $15 to get it authenticated. Yes, they can make mistakes. However, they have been in the business for a long time, and it's best to do your research on which authentication website you find is best. But then again, it is up to you. It is up to your due diligence, to your homework and research. So the day code is something that is very important for Louis Vuitton products. A lot of collectors will look at the bag and make sure that the day code matches the made-in stamp, or just to make sure that the day code is there to begin with. Just to give them the ease of mind to make sure that it's actually an authentic Louis Vuitton piece. Another thing that you want to make sure is looking at the bag itself. You want to make sure that it's just well quality made. The bags, hands down, stand the test of time. I have wallets and other bags that I've had for almost 10 years, and they still look in brand spanking new condition. Also, obviously depends on how well you take care of your products, but then again, they should be able to last the test of time. I'm very OCD, so I like to keep my products in their dust bags when I'm not using them, in a nice, not humid and wet place, so that way they don't get any moisture on them. But you have to make sure that you're keeping your products nice and well. For me, I don't have necessarily the money to just throw away all the time to repurchase these items, so that's why I like to keep them in immaculate condition, as well as Louis Vuitton is probably one of the #1 brands that actually hold their resale value. So I've had items that I've had for about a couple years that I no longer was able to fit into my lifestyle, and I was able to actually sell closer to retail and what I paid for them, and I essentially didn't lose that much money, maybe like $10 here and there, but essentially I was able to recoup a majority of my money back. Going into a little bit more of the history, Louis Vuitton is part of a parent company, LVMH. Louis Vuitton is their more desired brand out of the whole LVMH parent company. They do own other companies such as Sephora, Fendi, Dior, Kenzo, and a lot others. However, Louis Vuitton is their bread and butter, and there is their major point of sales for LVMH. So if you're thinking about starting your very first Louis Vuitton collection, or thinking about getting your very first item, something that I do suggest is going with either a monogram piece or either a damier graphite or damier abîme piece. I don't really recommend going with something damier azur or something with a lot of vachetta on it, just because as your first piece, you're going to be wanting to be a little bit more carefree with it, just because you want to see how the brand is going to fit into your lifestyle. And with the damier azur pieces and the more heavy vachetta pieces, you're going to be a lot more subjected to the wear and tears that those pieces offered compared to like the monogram or to like the damier graphite or the damier abîme. And as the very first Louis Vuitton item, you don't want to have to deal with that kind of stress and that kind of worry, just because the damier azur pieces are really light in color and you can be subjected to a lot of color transfer. So if you wear a lot of darker clothings, I would definitely not recommend that piece unless you have collected enough or you really don't care if you were to get color transfer onto them. Same thing with the vachetta leather. If you're okay with getting watermarks on it or stains on it, if you have a lot of lotion on your hands, then by all means, go for it. For me, I don't tend to get a lot of vachetta pieces just because of that fact alone. The vachetta leather is very sensitive to like the moisture from your hands, as well as if you were to put a lot of creams or hand sanitizers, like given today's situation, it can stain the leather itself. So if you're collecting and you're wanting to get your very first purchase, I highly recommend you going with a damier abîme piece, just because those pieces come with a lot of the treated leather on it, and they're a little bit more carefree in a sense, because you can't get lotion on it, you can't get your hands wet and touch the handles on the bags, and it won't necessarily show the color marks on it. The sanitizer is something that can happen regardless, especially with the canvas pieces. However, the sanitizer can come off if you were to use a little bit of coconut oil or non-alcoholic water-based wipes. That is another way that you can also use to clean some of your bags as well. If you do want to do that, 100% use 99.9% baby wipes that have water base only. No alcohol, no scent, nothing. Those are really good to wipe down your bags, as well as if you do get some watermarks on your vachetta, you can use the baby wipes to kind of like do a false golden browning on it, and will turn the color a little bit, and that way you can have a little bit more of an even patina if you do get some water spots on it. However, my very first Louis Vuitton piece was a damier graphite wallet. I highly recommend a small SLG just to see if you can fit the brand into your lifestyle. A lot of people just want to go with the hype and be like, I want a Louis Vuitton, and just get the most expensive bag or the most expensive item that they have to offer, and they don't necessarily realize if it will actually fit into their lifestyle. The reason why I enjoyed and keep constantly purchasing Louis Vuitton over other brands is because it's at a price point where I am more comfortable to spend at compared to like Chanel and Hermes. For some of those wallets and some of those belts, those are a little bit out of my price range for now, and Louis Vuitton just fits into my lifestyle and budget. And I also do like the simplicity and the heritage that went along with it. When Louis Vuitton had their capsule in Toronto, I absolutely loved that exhibit. I was able to go and visit that capsule and see a lot of the heritage and a lot of the older collections that they did have. So for me, the brand itself is more than just the items that I purchase. I actually really do enjoy the heritage that comes along with it. I actually really do enjoy the direction that the brand is going in. They seem to have always tried to reinvent themselves and try to be the number one leading competitor in the luxury market. Compared to Chanel and Hermes, I feel as though they want to be a little bit more exclusive. Yes, Louis Vuitton is a little bit more exclusive of a brand. However, I don't feel as though they're a little bit more like snooty or like they can't help you if you just walk in with like sweats and a t-shirt kind of thing, which totally should not be a characteristic at all. If you have the money to spend and you're willing to spend the money, I don't think you should be worried about what kind of clothing you are wearing to purchase them. But for Chanel and Hermes, I feel like sometimes when you walk into those stores, I've had sales associates kind of like stare me up and down and be like, oh, like, you can't afford this. But realistically, it's none of their business, and who's to say I can't just look and browse? So that's the reason why I stick with Louis Vuitton, just because I love their pieces and I really do like their heritage. And it is a very good price point for beginners and for entry-level luxury collectors. They have the cheapest pieces, can range from like $200 to like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 depending on your budget. But like a belt is $500, a wallet is $500. There's a lot of items within the $200 to $1,000 price range that are really worth their money. Yes, because of that, they are a little bit more harder to find, but they are very versatile pieces. A lot of the pieces that I have are able to be used in different functionalities and different ways, so that way it's not just used as a one item or one use way. Versus like for me, like Chanel and Hermes, their belts and their wallets are ridiculously priced, in my opinion, for what they are. I feel as though you're paying a lot more for the brand and the exclusivity of it all versus Louis Vuitton. Yes, you're paying for canvas versus leather pieces, but the canvas is very durable and very well made, and they do stand the test of time. And for me, I don't like to have them looking worn, and the canvas pieces really don't look worn as they age, versus like if you were to get like a leather piece, you can have scratch marks on it, or the leather will look all wrinkly, and you can tell when a leather piece looks old compared to when a canvas piece looks old. Like looking at this bag, you'll never know that it's 20 years old. If you haven't checked out my vintage versus brand new video, definitely go check that out. I'll leave a link down below. But yeah, I definitely recommend Louis Vuitton as a very first entryway for luxury collecting if you're looking to go into that direction. Thank you so much for watching. Question of the day is, what did you learn most about the Louis Vuitton brand? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.